Well, on Thursday, we found out that we have officially seen the end of Adam Bandt after he lost his seat in Melbourne. Am I ever gonna see your face again? No, wait, you know how the rest of that goes. Joe, do you want to finish it off for me? Do you want to?
I do.
You want
my final television performance.
Exactly. I'd rather you did it than me. And look, let's hope that it is true and we never have to see his face again. But they'll probably bring him back in the Senate or something. Now, he gave a concession speech of sorts, I suppose you could say. He went for 24 minutes. No questions either. He just came out and said his piece. And it ranged from how One Nation was to blame for him losing his seat through to how climate change was an invasion.
We're in a climate crisis. We're in a climate crisis. I really want the media to stop reporting on climate as a political issue and start thinking about it as if our country was being invaded.
Yeah, well, there was an invasion of Labor into your seats, mate. I think that's probably what you should be more worried about. But Pauline Hanson, I think, spoke for many of us.
Just quietly between you and I was getting ready to come onto your program when I heard the news. And I couldn't help it. I did a dance around the house in my bra and knickers, and I had to have a gin and tonic. So I am so excited. That's the best news I've heard.
And no, we don't have footage of that. But I think many of us had a gin and tonic on Thursday, Kel.
Yes, isn't it interesting how some people who we only know through television, we manage to dislike so intensely? It is a fascinating phenomenon, and he is one of them. I mean, even what he said at the end about there's a climate crisis. Well, no, there's a climate debate, right? And it may well be that we won't all die because the human race is so adaptable and we can adapt to we can live in the Sahara or we can live in Siberia. So
otherwise known as Melbourne.
That's right. That's right. We can do that. So that kind of hysteria and panic is really unhelpful and it's really bad politics, but it's where he's taken the Greens. He also is the man who took the Greens into the Hamas camp. We can't get away from that. He led the Greens into hardcore Hamas support, and that's morally disgusting. So it's really good that he's gone. And David Shoebridge was talking this morning to Andrew Clennell, and David Shoebridge said, "Well, I think it's time we had a woman leader." He seemed to have forgotten they had. Christine Milne led the Greens, but he wants it to be a DEI job, not a merit appointment.
And how well did that turn out for them? Amongst many other people who've sort of been a bit unhinged over all of this, chief among them, I think, is Abby Chatfield, who, of course, is an online influencer. If you're not aware of her, she got heavily involved in the election, was campaigning for both Labor and the Greens. She was quite cut up about Bandt's loss.
The greater good was to keep Dutton out. That was achieved. That was the main goal, so I'm happy with that. I know for a fact you are deeply unlikable, unintelligent, ugly, strange, isolated people who were desperate for community and validation, right?
There are other clips where she was crying and carrying on, the Bandt's on the way out. Look, it should be noted, Caroline, that their national vote held pretty well, and they've done quite well in the Senate. So overall, the Greens don't have a great deal to worry about, but they have been wiped out in the lower house because the swing was on. The swing was on, and when the swing is on, you are gone, and thank God for that.